1st of September 2023. Now this is spring day and it is Friday. And those that follow my channel will know Friday is Braai Day. But before we go, let's start and have a look at sunrise in St. Petersburg. I like these shots, they've got a lot of atmosphere, and this was given to me by a friend of mine on Twitter, Jacob Sharat, and I have used some of his images previously. But in any case, it's Friday. First I want to talk about the channel. There's a lot of people coming onto the channel that leave comments in which they are insulting me. I've got news for them. This is what I think of your insults. The other reality is that there are people that come and they stumble onto the channel and they listen to the stuff that I talk about, and then they're highly disturbed and they lash out. But for them I've got only one suggestion. Open your ears and your eyes and realize you've been lied to, or go and crawl back to your safe space there at CNN, BBC, SABC, RSG. Go to those safe spaces if you don't want to know what is actually happening. The channel has now again been demonetized, as I've said, and I'm busy with a fight with them about that, but that is what it is. And that is why I also opted to make a debit order facility available on the channel, so for the people that would like to support the channel, they can do it through a debit order. It's an easy process and it's a safe process. And that processing is done by my own company, so don't be concerned that you're feeding the beast that is trying to devour us. The other side of the coin is that there are options for people that want to do cash deposits. And then I've got a PayPal option as well as two cryptocurrency option. I want to thank the people that are supporting the channel. I really appreciate that, and it is welcome. Running the channel is taking a hell of a lot of my time. Apart from the time that is consumed by it, I'm confronted by ugly things that I see and things that really disturbs one. And I've seen my wife one night had a look at one of the folders in which I was busy setting the stuff out for a story that I was doing, and she nearly freaked out when she saw the images in there. And I told her, you need to panic, I'm not going to show those images because it's too wild. But the reality is we have to keep our eyes open. Things are happening around us. The world is changing very fast. And for those that are not so sure about this new world order thing, you must understand that that is a idea and a construct which was pushed by XXX, but then Putin put the brakes on their plans and Xi Jinping joined him. So yes, we are dealing with a new world, but not the thing that we were told by Schwab. We can see what's happening in Africa. There's a lot of things happening in northwestern Africa, and it will influence us and it will influence the globe, obviously. But what is happening there is a decolonization in the true sense of the word. And then there's South African blacks that are cheering for those guys in North Africa, and they give the impression that they are in full sympathy with those guys because they are struggling here. Now the problem that we sit with is, first of all, that 30% pass and then that low IQ, and that makes it impossible for these keyboard warriors. They're from the Salsa Brigade. It makes it impossible to engage with them in a decent debate about the facts. The reality is, where the fuck is South Africa colonized? The Boer fucked the British out of the country in 61 finally. So don't get that shit in your fucking head that you're in the same position as the guys in Niger. You are not. You are sitting in a country that you got, that was fully functional, lots of industrial development, independent country, and you fucked it up. Now you want to make as if you are in the same boat as the guys in Northwest Africa. You're talking shit, and nobody wants to tell you that you talk shit. In any case, I'm not going to waste my time on that crap. But look at this. A military diplomatic source, according to information confirmed by several sources, in order to counteract the development of cooperation between the countries of Africa and Russia, the British Special Services, MI6, has formed and prepared to be sent to the southern continent a sabotage and punitive detachment consistent of 100 militants of Ukrainian nationalists and new Zazi formations. The task of the unit will be to carry out sabotage of infrastructure facilities as well as the elimination of African leaders focused on interaction with Russia. And that is exactly what the fucking British do. That is how they've been doing it for a hell of a long time. Instead of focusing on their little sinking island, they're all around Africa, busy stirring shit. Now they're bringing that Zazis into Africa to sabotage infrastructure which is scarce in Africa, but they will come and fuck it up. These British are fucking evil. Then look at this. Defending Western values. In 2011, NATO launched more than 10,000 air raids on Libya with over 500,000 civilian casualties. When NATO was questioned about the civilian casualties, they said it was collateral damage and these things happen in wars. Meanwhile, the ICC remains absolutely silent. Again. And then the people want to know why the fuck the BRICS bloc wants nothing to do with the West. There's your answer. Now listen to this. And this is again the West that is doing it. Almost a third of Ukraine is littered with unexploded ordnance, including cluster munitions, says the Union. This is an interesting statement given that Russia has not used cluster munitions and the United States announced a supply of cluster munitions to the Ukraine regime only a week ago. An interesting question. Is the UN aware that its statement needs explanations and conclusions? If this is bad, then who is to blame for the fact that 1/3 of Ukraine is covered, among other things, with cluster munitions? This is what we are dealing with. This is what the West is doing. And for that Zazi stalker of mine that keeps on praising the West, praising Zelensky, you're an evil fucker. This is what you are participating. Listen to this. In the liberated Lysychansk, Russian investigators found evidence of inhuman experiments carried out by Ukrainian doctors in a maternity hospital, testing unknown drugs on newborns, intentionally infecting children from a shelter with viruses. All this took place under the supervision of foreign experts. Foreign experts! Leaving the city, the Ukrainian special services tried to destroy all traces, but there were witnesses who a year ago were afraid to speak, but now they calmly testify. That is what is going on in the Ukraine. Evil shit that the West is protecting now. Why? Because they have heavily invested in these things. And the stupid Western taxpayers sits and tweets and sends memes around while their leadership is involved in crap like this. This article, I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can stop it if you want to read the whole thing. Surrendered Ukrainian soldiers report that they are being abused by foreign mercenaries, while unit commanders turn a blind eye despite numerous complaints. The reality is, and I've spoken about it in a previous Skidmark, Zelensky is part of this XXX fucking plan of the Geopolitics plan. What they are doing is they are busy killing off all the men in Ukraine. That is what they are doing, killing the men in Ukraine. Why? So that the Geopolitics plan can be implemented there. Zelensky said yesterday that he will save Ukraine with mass immigration. So that Ukraine woman must understand Zelensky is planning to bring in non-white men to breed with you. And then we have this. All Europe will soon see fallout from the Ukrainian events, Serbian health minister says. Events in Ukraine will have an impact on the health of people across Europe. Serbian health minister and specialist neurosurgeon Danica Krujic said in an interview with Sputnik. The fact that the Ukraine agreed to receive depleted uranium ammunition from Western countries, given the experience of the former Yugoslavia in 1999, is unfathomable. According to Danica, Serbian health minister and specialist neurosurgeon, the ministers recalled the chemical and nuclear war waged against Serbia and Montenegro in an interview with Sputnik. And there are also evidence from the Middle East. And this is the thing. This West, under management of the US, don't give a fuck for the people as long as they can exert their power and influence and make money out of this shit. More from the EU. This is Skaya Kallas, this woman. We must break Russia's cycle of aggression and establish special international tribunal for the crime of aggression. Russia and its leaders must be held accountable. There can be no impunity, no immunity. The unfortunate reality is that she is part of the aggressors, NATO. And then we get this. Zelensky is trying by all means to draw NATO into a direct clash with Russia. Zelensky demanded from Greece protection of the Black Sea area by air defense forces. Ukraine has created an alternative grain corridor in the Black Sea. It can work, but in order for it to work and to be stable, we require you to strengthen the air shield. This can be a historical contribution of Greece to European security if you help us and the protection, in particular, of the Black Sea area by defense forces. This is what's happening. This guy is desperate to get NATO into the fight. And the European citizens are sitting quietly tweeting and memeing. But they will wake up when the fucking missiles fall in their cities. And then we have this. Again, I'm not going to read all of it. You can stop it and read if you want. EU sets new record for company bankruptcies. The number of company bankruptcies in the EU in the second quarter of 2023 has reached the highest level since 2015, when they started collecting data. That's the reality. Europe is crashing. And who can we thank? Ursula von der Crazy and her sanction war against Russia. I'm waiting for the 12th or 13th or 14th package to be announced. They're not suffering enough yet. And then we get this. Listen carefully. Joseph Borrell wants to ensure military support for Kiev for 4 years to come. I propose to create a fund to support Ukraine for the period 2024 to 2027 to ensure the sustainability of our military support. The fund would operate under the European Peace Facility and would be a key element of our long-term contribution to Ukraine's security, as agreed by European leaders in June. I propose funding under the fund 5 billion euros annually. This will be the ceiling, not an extended target. Fact of the fucking matter is Europe, the European citizens are busy losing their homes because they can't keep up with the debt load, the high energy cost, high food cost and this. And this fucker going to give 5 billion euros to Ukraine. Where the hell is that money coming from? Where is it coming from? The European economies all over is busy crashing. Where the fuck is the money coming from to do the shit that this guy is proposing? And then there's some sanity in the EU. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has offered to conclude a truce with Putin without the return of Crimea and without Ukraine's membership in NATO. Well, but nobody listens to him. The EU won't listen to him. They will sanction Hungary because of what Orban is saying. And in any case, I think he must just remember one thing. Those regions in the Donbass that has already been taken into Russia is also not going to return to Ukraine. And then we come to this. A gay parade took place in Berlin, one of the main topics of which was Ukraine, and the slogan, "Be proud like Ukraine." Even the Ukraine ambassador made a speech. But that is how XXX is going to destroy the Western white civilization. This is one of the things. This gender shit. You better open your eyes. They're destroying your culture. By that they make you like a tree without roots. And I have done skid marks on it. It is only tribes that will survive. Only tribes is going to survive. And listen to this. A Canadian clinic offers gender reassignment for newborn babies. What the fuck is that? But again, the voters allow this. They put these cretins in charge that makes these laws and rules. So don't cry. Go and bliksem your head against a tree and take a hammer to an anvil and fuck that finger up that voted. That is what you need to turn your wrath onto. That voter. Let me get to the memes. If the guy on the right triggers you, but these criminals on the left don't, congratulations, you have been successfully mind controlled by the TV, media and Hollywood. In other words, you've been mind fucked. That's what happened to you. And my pet Zatsi should take note. And then there's more on that. When these people are defending the Ukraine government, you know Putin must be onto something. And look through those faces. Look at those people. Look at them. And think. And then we get to this meme, and I have done a skid mark on this. Black privilege. The ability to break every law in the country and still remain victim. These blacks worldwide, they are a protected species. They must be protected. They get special privileges. They have things like affirmative action, and here in South Africa, BEE, all of that, 170 laws in South Africa to protect the majority of about 65 million against 3 million. What the fuck is that? That is a perfect example of how you make a public declaration that you are weak. That is the truth. And then we get to this. Maria Zakharova. The UK Defence Secretary Ben Wallace has resigned after 4 years in office after sending a letter of resignation to the Prime Minister. Let's say goodbye to the person responsible for contaminating Ukrainian soil with radiation by supplying the Kiev regime with depleted uranium shells. Agent 006 has ignominiously fled the battlefield. That's the truth. And once again, a fucking British guy. That is what they do. Now, They're poisoning Ukraine. But they don't feel a fuck. He's now resigning and now he's going to sit in his luxury mansion, well cared for financially, and he doesn't give a fuck for what he is doing to the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian children and the unborn. They must pay for this shit. And this is an interesting thing for the Americans. You can stop the thing and take a good look at it. But someone has come out with this, and it says the former United States in 2042. I don't think it's going to take until 2042. It's going to be much quicker, but look how America is broken up. That is the only thing that makes sense. Once again, it is only tribes that will survive. Only tribes is going to survive. And then we look at this, and this is in America, where they've got billions and billions and billions to pump into Ukraine and in wars and in military bases around the globe. But their own country is falling apart. Listen to this. A 127-year-old water main under New York's Times Square gave way early Tuesday. The subway underneath New York's City Times Square was flooded with 1.8 million gallons of water after a pipeline ruptured on Tuesday, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority said. Their country is falling apart, but those warmongers sitting in a shithouse is funneling all your money into wars and back into your military-industrial complex, and you, the citizens, are getting fuck all. But you are the citizens that voted for these cretins. You put them in power, you. And then we have this from South Africa. Errol, and he's a very big Ramaphosa fan, this guy. We can't deal with Zama-Zamas. We can't deal with hijacked buildings. We can't deal with illegal foreigners. We can't deal with the construction mafia. Hi Sugar, why do we still have the SAPS? A very good question and a very valid question. But that's the South Africa we have to deal with. Thanks to black majority democracy, the country is going down the shooter into the shit pond. And then we get to that day, and it is being spring, first day of spring. I have got a little bonus for the guys on the back page, but there's also 2 shots in there for the girls. Supporter on Telegram sent me these images and asked me to include them in the back page. I hope you enjoy it. I'm not going to comment on the guys, but look, they are real men. But the girls, wow, that is some good contours. I hope you enjoyed this. And remember, Friday is Braai Day. And on that note, I would also like to braai. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. And once again, thanks to those that are supporting the channel financially. I really appreciate it. Have a great braai.